Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, and today I'll be reading Rengoku Listener by me. So let's get into it. He never really thought of himself as someone intimidating. Maybe because everyone who knew him didn't see him as such. He may be a loud big guy, but in the end, his heart was pure and so kind. And most people could see him that way once they knew him very well. So I didn't know why it would be any different with you and why you would be scared of him. But knowing that you are, it really made him feel horrible about a lot of things. It made him feel bad, like he was doing something wrong to get this reaction out of you. At first, he noticed that primarily it happened when he was moving too fast or so suddenly, and sometimes when he held you out of nowhere and you were surprised by him, that you would flinch away. Other times would be when he was raising his voice at you. Not in the way that he was raising it and yelling at you in a bad way, but he always had his voice raised. He was a loud person normally, so it's not like something he could control so easily. It was just how he was. There was nothing he could do about that. Or that's what he would have said if he didn't care enough about you. But he did, greatly so. And he wanted to change a lot of what he usually did, just to make sure he would not be hurting you in any way. He never wanted to make you afraid. And that's why he was so intent on being careful with the way he says things, and with the way he speaks and the way he moves. So across the months you've known each other, and as soon as he noticed this, he's been making the changes that he could, as slowly as possible, since it was also a difficult matter for him. It's basically how he's been, for as long as he could remember, and he never wanted to change his personality or himself for anyone. But for you, he would do almost anything. It's not like he didn't like how he was. You simply disliked how it reminded you of things that were, well, basically, just painful memories in the past. Things you would rather not be reminded of, and things that you would rather just not think about. So, of course, he could not blame you. And since he loved you so much, why couldn't he bother and do a little change for you? A change that would make you feel safer with him, even though it was not particularly his fault that this happened. And that's why he has been so careful about all of this, and so intent on doing it. And you noticed, with time, that you were feeling less afraid and less anxious. He no longer had his voice raised around you, and his movements were generally slower, more patient. He made sure not to move too fast, not to startle you, and to be as gentle as possible when it came to you. He loved you greatly, and he would do anything, even if it meant a small smile on your face. And now, as you cuddled with him, you couldn't help but notice all these changes as they slowly happened around you and getting you to this point in time. So you looked up at him, holding his hand, and you hummed. Well, I have a question, Rengoku. Oh? Ask right away, dear. What is it? What's on your mind? You held his hand gently, and you think how to say this before deciding that maybe honesty is the best way you can go about it. So you decide to be honest, and you say, well, I was thinking that maybe you seem to be a little bit different. You're quieter and different in some other ways too. Oh? You noticed? And what do you make of that? Well, I was thinking that maybe you did it. Well, I don't know. But you weren't like this before we started living together. So, was it because of me? Are you sad about not being able to be yourself for me? You don't have to be. I didn't want you to change yourself so much. You don't have to hold yourself back in any way. And he shook his head, laughing softly. Out of all possibilities, this is what you think of. Well, no, I don't regret doing anything for you. I'm happy with how things are, and I'm happy with you. I'm happy that I get to be with you and love you, and that I get to make you feel safe too. That's important to me. You know that, right, Wayan? I do. I just don't want to pressure you to be more subdued, just for me to feel peaceful. And you didn't. You did not pressure me at all. I'm choosing to be like this, if it means your comfort. And I'm not actually bothered by it. I just had to change my habits a little bit. That is all. But truly, there is nothing for you to worry about. Are you sure about that, Rengoku? You ask, looking at him, and he nods, smiling. I'm quite sure. Now come on, let me hold you. I love you, darling. And what I did to make you feel comfortable. I never did it while feeling bothered. I did it while I was happy, because it made you happy too. And your heart melted at his words, the words that were so gentle and so soft, different to what you would hear from anyone else. But perhaps that was why you fell in love in the first place. And that was why he did this, because he loved you. And all those words that would come from him would always be so full of love and care, in a way you've never been shown by anyone else. So of course you'd be surprised and taken aback by it. That was to be expected. But all you could do now was close your eyes and let out a soft sigh as you leaned against him and let yourself melt into his warmth, all as he smiled and held you close, relieved by the little victory that you got to have today. He was just happy to have you smiling. That was all that mattered for him.